Hi there. Hi, I'm Carol, mainly Pilates. What strange times we're in. It's a bit weird. Obviously, my Pilates class tonight, I can't hold it. Very gutted, and I've had lots of lovely messages from people. Anyway, decided to do a live one outside in what's left of the sunshine. It won't be an hour, I don't think, because I'm not sure I've got this technical stuff sorted, but I've got my lesson plan. And those of you that know my classes, remember there is a basic level for every exercise, and then there are adaptations to make it easier if you're injured in that particular area. So for example, we will be doing squats. If you've got bad knees, I'll give you an adaptation to make it lighter on your knees. And then there's progressions which make it harder, because some of you have been coming to me for a very long time now and an ordinary squat won't cut it. So there'll be adaptations, progressions. If you have an injury, make sure you look after it. If you have an injured shoulder and you insist on trying press-ups, full press-ups, you're not going to make your injury any better. You're just going to add to it and make it take longer and longer to get better. So I want you to look after your injuries. Nobody's looking, for goodness sake, are they? So you can do whatever you like. You can miss anything out. Please rest as much as you want to, especially if you're new to my class, because I know some of the exercises are really tough. So I will give you the rests, but most of them are stretches anyway, so enjoy the stretch for what it is. Don't worry about that. And I hope you enjoy it. Now, if anybody's there watching, if you could give me a thumbs up. I can't keep reading it. I can't keep running back and forth and reading it, but I will have a little peek now. Oh yeah, no, I'm not going to tag people. Oh, so I've got 7 or 8, 9, 10 watchers. Oh, brilliant, thank you. Okay, I'm not going to keep looking. So I am actually going to start now, so we don't hang around. Before we start any of my classes, first thing we always ever do is set up for good posture. And this is not just for my class, this is for life. So start with your feet together start with your feet together. Turn your toes out at 10 to 2. Lift your heels behind. Now if you look, these aren't your hips, the bony bit. Go and dig in there and find that little bony bit. Those are your actual hips. And when you do what I just asked, notice that your knees and ankles are all in a line with your hips, and that's just how Mother Nature intended. Put your hands on those bony bits and make sure they're level. Girls particularly, we like to stand like this a lot. Look what that's doing to my hips, to my hip bones, which is throwing my knee out. So when you have problems with your knees, it's often caused by not standing correctly and not having the hips level. So now I'm nice and level. I'm going to lengthen my neck. Imagine you have a thread coming from the very middle of your head and you're lifting it up towards the sky. If you notice, my chin is parallel to the floor. So in other words, I'm not looking up. Okay, now we want to take the shoulders down and back. So you lift them as high as you can, take them as far back as you can, and as far down as you can, which is, frankly, a little bit ridiculous. Makes your boobs look big though. So you just want to knock it off a little bit, but imagine you still have a rucksack on, just pulling those shoulders down and back. Now we want to get a neutral spine. Put your hands on your hips and basically stick your bum out. Now if you notice, I'm not moving my head forward. I'm keeping my head exactly where it is. I'm just sticking my bum out, which is good mobility for the spine. Now do a pelvic tilt. The bigger you can make this movement, the more mobility you have in your spine, which is a good thing. Now imagine you have a bowl of beer in here, or fizz. Imagine tipping some out at the front, and now tipping some out at the back. Tipping some out at the front, out at the back. Now make that movement smaller and smaller until you're not spilling any and the liquid inside here is level. That will be your neutral spine. You still have a bit of a curve here, you still have a bit of a lump here, and you have a nice curve here. But this is Mother Nature's way of making you stand up whilst protecting your spine and using the least amount of muscle power and ligament power in all those muscles up and down your spine. She knows best, Mother Nature. Now we want to engage our core. The quickest way to engage your core is to just put your hands on your belly and concentrate on your hands while you cough. So if you cough and your hands go, That's completely the opposite to engaging your core. Now try again and just bring them in a fraction. So you cough and bring them in. That's engaging your core. And you need to keep that there. Eek. And now we need the pelvic floor. I've talked about the pelvic floor and I can talk about it for an hour. Pelvic floor. If you happen to be having little wheeze when you cough or sneeze, heaven forbid with the coronavirus, and I did a whole video on that, if you accidentally wee a little bit when you cough or sneeze, it's your pelvic floor failing. It is a muscle. It's inside. Nobody can see you exercising it, but please do exercise it, because if you don't, it will fail you. So it starts here, goes underneath, and starts here, ends here, and it has little holes in it for obvious reasons. Now it comes up and down, and it actually works like your eyes, your irises. When you use your pelvic floor muscle, it actually contracts, which is what stops your wee coming out. So now imagine your pelvic floor closing it, pretend it's a lift. Close the lift doors and now take the lift to the top floor. Now lower it all the way down. Now lift it up again all the way to the top floor. Now lower it down to halfway and then another couple of floors. And that will be 30%. So you're just engaging your pelvic floor, and you need to do that throughout the whole class, especially when you're doing the exercises. Because if you're doing lots of exercises and you let your pelvic floor drop, that's when you accidentally wee. And this can happen to athletes as well as old people, as well as mums who've had 4 children. Anybody's pelvic floor can fail them. So you need to look after it. Next, the breathing. So because we've got our pelvic floor engaged, we're not breathing through our stomach like you would be taught to in yoga, or like we tend to. So when you breathe, you normally take, and your belly goes in and out. But we're holding it in because we're engaging it. And put your hands on your ribs, fingertips just together. And now, as you take a great big inhale, because this isn't moving, imagine a balloon under each hand, and you want to inflate the balloon. So you inhale. See how my fingertips come apart? And as you exhale, they come back together. Inhale for 4 through the nose. Exhale for 4 through the mouth. This is a very good breathing technique for calming your nerves as well, so take that away with you. But for all these exercises, you should be able to maintain this breath rate. If you're not, definitely if you're holding your breath, it means you're working too hard. And normally when I'm in a class, I can tell who's holding their breath because their head starts to go purple. However, I'm trusting you to keep breathing, in for 4, out for 4. Okay, that's you set up. Now, because it's a bit chilly, we're going to do some HIIT first of all, but you've got my timer there on that phone. So instead of doing it for 20 seconds work, 10 seconds rest, I'm going to tell you when to rest. And we're going to do squats. Now, if you look, my feet are in exactly the same position that we just told you, and your squat is to bring your arms up and bend your legs. Now please note, you mustn't take your knees close together. They must stay over your ankles, because this is going to put your hips out of alignment. So as you squat, take your arms up and sit down as though you're sitting in a chair that's not there. There's your squat. So we're actually doing quite a lot of these. So if you start to tire in the legs, you can change the squat. Take your feet out at 10 to 2. And then as you squat down now, you take your knees over your feet. Don't let them fall in, because again, that's bad for your knees and your hips. So you can swap if you want to. We're going to do 8 sets, and I'm not very good at counting, but I'll do my best. And I'm just going to have a look, because there's lots of messages coming up here. Hi Caroline, hi Sue, hi Mark. Linda, I can see you from here. Okay, let's go. So we're going to squat. Okay, I'm going to try and count at the same time. So it's down, up, down, up. Notice my knees are still going forward, not in like this. And we're going to do 2 more and then rest. Now on the rest, because we're doing 8 sets, it's quite easy at the moment, but we're just going to shake the legs off, because you'll need that in a minute. I'll show you one of the wide leg ones for those that want to do the wide leg. Okay, inhale. Notice how my knees go out. This is just warming everything up. Okay, rest. Shake the legs off. So your heart rate should have gone up a little bit. I could tell you what mine is. And again, I'm going back to close leg. Okay, see, we haven't got any more now. Just starting up a new session. Just to let you know, my heart rate is, I can feel it elevated. Back to wide leg. Stop if you need to and rest. Or you can go slower if you need to. You're still doing a really good workout. If your knees are starting to ache, you could just take your knees wide and move the arms. You're still switching on inner thighs, outer thighs and bum. Okay, get some messages through. Hello. Okay, I'm going back to close leg. And again, if your knees are hurting, you can stay here, which is like this. So that's doing you a lot of good as well. It's doing the thighs, it's doing the bum, okay? And relax. I think we've got two more, I think. So I'm going to go wide. Yep. See, my heart rate's way over 100. Rest when you need to. Just check your knees are still going out. Okay, shake them off. One more set, I think. You know how bad I am at counting. All right, one more. I'm doing closed. Keeping that core engaged, keeping the floor engaged, and the shoulders, you don't want them up around your ears. They stay down and back. Okay, let's do 4 more. Well done. Shake the legs off. And you just need to stretch the thighs. So, arm out for balance. There you go. So here's no stretch. Oh. It's very difficult on grass, isn't it? No stretch here for the thigh. Bring the knees together, take the foot behind. Now you have a stretch. Big deep breath. Get your breath rate back. Same the other side. Superb. Now we're going to go back a bit. So I did that hit first to warm us up, but now we're just going to go back and mobilise some of the joints. And these are the things, you can do this bit and nothing else. So any of you out there that don't actually like Pilates or fitness of any sort, shame on you. There's always something for everybody, if it's walking, dancing, whatever. Big inhale. As you exhale, turn the face, no shoulder movement, just turn the face to the one side on the exhale and inhale back and off to the other side. And inhale back and keep going. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay, always do a matching pair. It's up to you to make sure you do a matching pair, because I can't see you. Okay, we're now going to look up to the sky. If there's anything wrong with the light or you can't hear me properly, please just send me a message now and I'll be able to see it, I think. Okay, so the neck now, draw a circle with your nose. Now again, it's your body, you're in charge. What you need to do is make sure that you do a small movement first of everything I ask you to do. So small movement, because if you suddenly wing your head around, that's too late then to say, oh, that hurt. So you always start with a small range of movement, and then you make it bigger and bigger until you're at your biggest range of movement without any pain. Remember I said about injuries, you go up to, not into pain. Change direction, small again, always small. Okay, my neck feels great now. So we're going to move on to the shoulders. Imagine you have a pencil here and a pencil here, and you want to move those pencils so you're making a circle, drawing a circle, small first, then as big as you like. I mean, look how much movement you could have. This much, this much, this much. Make it as big as you want. Notice your back doesn't change at all. Keep that neutral spine, keep the pelvic floor lifted, keep the get core engaged. Change direction. So all my classes start with setting up the body and then mobility for every joint. It isn't about gymnastics and pushing yourself and trying to be competitive. It's about mobilizing your joints. So now we're going to do the shoulder a bit more. So take your arm out to the side. Now look, if I have my arm relaxed, I've got a bingo wing. But if I have my arm active, I have no bingo wing. So keep it out, make sure you're still level and draw a small circle. That doesn't hurt, go a bit bigger. That doesn't hurt, go bigger still. I know I am quite supple in my shoulders. A lot of my clients have shoulder injuries, so one side might be really good and the other side might not be good because they've learned to look after their injuries, so they go up to, not into pain. So notice how I'm not turning at all. So imagine these are like headlights facing the front. Change direction, check with a small one first. Still got that breath rate? And then change arms. Small first. So Thursday night is my big night. I teach 2 classes. I teach a ladies class at 6:30 and then the gents at just after 7:30. And both classes are pretty full. And I actually have a waiting list, which is lovely. But, you know, please call me if you want to join us, because if somebody can't make it, there might be a space for you. Okay, now we're going to do both together. Actually, I can see that I am level. So we have mirrors at Lion Keys, and everybody says, oh, I hate the mirror, but actually the mirrors are very, very useful. So what I make sure that I'm not arching my back, I'm keeping my neutral spine. And change direction. So no movement in the back, keeping it neutral. Okay, we're going to go out to the side. Now have a quick peep. This needs to be shoulder height and this needs to be shoulder height. Everything needs to be shoulder height. This isn't shoulder height. This is shoulder height. So we do long one, short, long, short. This is the best exercise. If you've been driving your car and you've been stuck like this and these muscles are all tense and these are all stretched, this is lovely. So on a day when I've been training and I've done too many press-ups or lots and lots of press-ups, this is where I'll hurt. And this exercise, yes, it's a bit tender, but it gets rid of the pain quite quickly. And then go side to diagonal to diagonal. But not by twisting, staying upright. I am just going to check for messages, keep going. Oh, okay. Oh, hi Irene. Hi Gay. Oh my God, Gay. How are you? There we go. Right, now then, we're going to move down the body a little bit. If you're worried about your balance, you can take your feet a bit wider. Hands on your hips. Now all we're doing is warming up the waist. No gymnastics. And again, this one, when you have been driving or gardening or sitting at your desk and you've got that lower back pain, which incidentally is nearly always caused by bad posture, then this is lovely. And in the old days when you had a bad back, they used to send you to bed for 6 weeks. Well, now they don't. They say keep moving. So if I had a bad back, I wouldn't do this, I'd do this. Because at the end of the day, if you don't use your muscles and ligaments, they shrink. And then suddenly, when you're fighting fit again and your back's not hurting anymore, where did your muscles go? You've lost them. Change direction. Small, check. No pain, good. Go a bit bigger. Oh, hi. Oh, thank you all for coming. This is my first live video, so I wasn't sure how it would work. And then if anybody can tell me how to pass it on to everybody who's not on Facebook, please let me know, because that is my big dilemma. Okay, now then, if you haven't got a bad back, and that didn't hurt at all, there is a tougher version, more aggressive, because this lot weighs a ton, doesn't it? I mean, your head could weigh about 10 or 12 pounds. So do a small one first, tip forward, not by rounding your back, but by straight back, down. And then we're going to take it all the way around, as though you're trying to draw a circle on the sky with your head. Now, as long as it doesn't hurt, you can go bigger and bigger. But if you had a bad back, you wouldn't even do this. And we do it very slowly, because at any point you might think, oh, I shouldn't have done that, I want to stop. Well, you can't stop if you're flinging it around like a mad thing. Okay, now let's change direction, small again. Oh, can somebody give me the thumbs up? Can you hear me all right? Somebody just give me a thumbs up to say you can hear me, because it might not be loud enough. Okay, we're now going to open up the hips. Now this is going to be difficult on here, I know, because the grass is very soft. So try with your arms out wide for help with balance. Make sure you've got everything engaged. Point your toe forward, draw a semicircle. Okay, now lift your toe off the floor a fraction. Not the hip stays down, just the toe. And if you're finding that easy, and my regulars now, this is makes it a bit more difficult, and this makes it quite difficult, and my regulars are all here at least, and some of them can even close their eyes while they're doing it. Now that is tough. Now lift the knee as though you're a puppet with a string here, and then turn the knee out and back in. Okay, now we're going to swing it front to back. Again, no gymnastics, no bent legs, straight leg. And we're not arching the back, and we're not leaning forward, staying upright. That's So all we're doing is just opening up this hip muscle, hip joint, and we're going to do the same on the other side. Oops. Okay, now lift the knee. And then front to back. Okay, now we are perfectly ready to start the first exercise, which is a press up. If you go to the end of your mat, take a big inhale. As you exhale, drop your chin to your chest, and then take your head all the way down to the floor, one vertebrae at a time. So, at some point, unless you're very supple, your hamstrings will get tight. You'll need to bend your knees. I want you to walk out into what we call a box position. So when I'm in a box position, my back is perfectly flat, my wrists are underneath my shoulders, and my knees are underneath my hips. And we do quite a few exercises in this position. Before we start any press-ups, let's practice and just mobilise the spine. We do a cat stretch. Cat means taking the middle of your back as high as you can up to the sky, looking down at your thighs, sucking that core into your spine, and then relax into box. We need to learn where box is. Now dip your belly, but keep your core engaged and look up and stick your bum out. Really good for mobilising the spine. And cat stretch. And box. So if you've been doing any gardening and you've been on your hands and knees, before you even try and get up, this might help mobilise the spine. Okay, for press-ups, core engaged, pelvic floor lifted. Take the hands wide but keep them on the mat. Imagine a line in between your thumbs. It's your chest needs to go down to this line. So in other words, not your nose, but your chest. So I see lots of people at the gym doing their press-ups like this. Oh, I can do 50 press-ups. Those aren't press-ups, come off it. 10 of these is far more difficult. So 4 seconds down, 4 seconds up. Keep that movement going, and whenever you need to rest, this is your rest, here. Because it stretches your back the other way, and it stretches your shoulders off. So, keep going. And if you've been with me a long time, you know that that's too easy for you now. So you drop your bum into a ski slope position, and you go down here. If it's hurting, keep going. If it's hurting your knees, it's because you've got the bony bit of your knee on the floor. What will change that is if you lift your feet up, now the fleshy bit is on the floor instead. So if you do it here, it doesn't hurt. 4 down, 4 up. And again, some of you are beyond that even. I think a lot of my clients can now go all the way down straight, and to come up a halfway house, you leave your knees on the floor, straight back pusher. Not many of them are doing full press-ups, but give it a whirl. And also, of course, if you've done some of these and you've had enough, as you tire, you can put your knees down. There's no rules. You do your exercise for you, and then we rest. Getting your breath back. Right, we're going to do Superman now, and it's called 4-point kneeling, 4-point swimming as well. So notice how my back is completely flat. If I raise one hand up towards my ear, hopefully you can get it there. Some people can't, it might be your bad side. But if you notice, nothing lifts, it just goes straight up and my back stays where it is. And the other arm, notice the weight changing. Then one leg, slide the foot out and lift it without arching your back, keeping your back level, and bring it back in. Slide the other one out, lift it, so it's really squeezing your bum, and down and back in. Now you can carry on doing that if you're new to Pilates. Keep doing one side, other side, one leg, one leg. But most of my clients now take one arm, opposite leg. And before I go any further, I will show you that this is the rest for you. So when you need a rest, go into this position and then come back. Okay? Imagine you're being pulled by your fingertips to the front and by your heels behind. Now pointed toes are really pretty, but if you flex your foot, this is a pointy foot, this is a flex foot. If you flex your foot, you're getting a stretch every time down the back of the leg, which is really good for you. And also if you get cramp in your toes, it's also good to stop that. Now if I show you from the front, I want to make sure you're not going out to the side at all, and you are actually going front to back. Face is looking at the floor. Let's do 2 more on each side. And then you can go into your rest. So I say, some of my clients have been with me for a long time now and they're quite pros at this. So if you want to carry on doing a few more of those, that's absolutely fine with me, but for my hardcore, we're going to now take the arm out. We're going to bring elbow to knee and out. And we're going to do 10 on each side. 2. Still breathing, still keeping your shoulders down and back. My hands are cold. I think this is 10 next time. I think this is 10. Change sides. Out. So when you come in, you're really squeezing that core, taking it back out. Rest if you need to. Two more. Well done. And into your rest. So the next exercise we're going to do is side plank. So I stick my bum on the back of the mat. I need to be in a straight line. I put my shoulder on the back of the mat, put my knee and hip and ankle on the back of the mat. Now I know I'm in a straight line. Imagine you have a candle underneath your waist here, just so that you're not like this, bringing the hip up. You want to make your hips level just by lifting that a little bit, and then your hips go straight up to the sky. So in other words, not leaning forward or backwards, and definitely no kink. Nice straight line. So again, like I said, pointy toes are pretty, but if you flex your feet, you're getting a stretch all down the back of the leg. So I'm using my hand here for balance, and I'm going to take, as though I'm trying to lead with a heel, but my outer foot is level. 2, 3, Oh, the sky's got a lovely colour. Sort of like all a bit purpley. All my neck and shoulders and everything should be quite relaxed. Some of you are hardcore now, you can take your hand here because that makes it harder to balance, or even hand here. It makes it much harder to balance, so you have to work harder to stay upright. So this is 10, so we stay up here and do 10 pulses at the top. And then we're going to do 10 slow again. Hey, it's a bit cold. Only my hands are cold, nothing else. I wonder how many of you are doing it outside with me, or are you doing it on your lounge or bedroom? Okay, 10 slow, 10 quick. Right, what you need now to stretch off is to bend the knee up and drop it to the floor. But not collapsing the hips into the floor because you don't get a stretch. If you leave your hip where it is up here and just drop your knee, you get this nice stretch in your bum. And if you bash it, gets the blood supply back to the muscles nice and quickly. So this is handy. We're in this nice position now. So we're going to use the inner thigh. So if you straighten your bottom leg and flex the foot strongly, you can lift it and lower it. Now, what I see a lot of is this. That isn't using the inner thigh. Pushing through the heel and lifting for 4, lowering for 4. That's when you're using your inner thighs. Hands cold. Hope Simon comes back and then I can ask him to get me some gloves. Now we pulse for 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and slow for 10. And here's 10, so we pulse for 10. Brilliant. So we're going to change sides. No, we're not. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do clam next. So while we're here, I'm just going to bend the legs. So now the backs of my feet, the soles of my feet are level on the back of the mat, and my knees are bent forward. So I'm in this position that we're sleeping quite a lot. Okay? Think of this as a clam, opening and closing. Again, I'm just relaxing. So, feet stay together, and you just open one leg, but you mustn't move the hip. So in other words, the hip doesn't tip back. If I tip my hip back, I can get my leg right open. But if I leave my hip here, there's not a lot of movement there, but that's fine because I'm still using this outer leg. And some of my clients will be doing this now. Oh, hello. Oh, hi. Will you ask Daddy to get me some gloves? Oh, God. That was Cuba. Hi. Oh, okay, well done. And now we're going to do the other side. So I'm going to turn around so I can still see you. My dog's gone mad over there. Okay, so make sure you set yourself up first. So I've got my bum on the back of the mat, knees, ankles, shoulder on the back of the mat. Hand in front for balance. So I'm going to go from here to lifting my waist off the floor a little bit, and then flex the feet and take one leg up. We all go and stir crazy not being able to do our exercise. That's why I'm doing this, because I just can't not do it. I would go mental. Honestly, I'd be climbing the walls. And we're doing 10 pulses. I don't think I'd be very nice to live with if I didn't get some exercise in every day. and 10 slow again. Susie, hi. Okay, 10 pulses at the top. Brilliant. And 10 slow. Thank goodness for the sunshine. Wouldn't we all go stir crazy without that? Oh, I can feel it on this side more than the other side. And 10 at the top. Brilliant. And then drop that one to the front, to the floor. Give it a bash if you need to. Flex the bottom foot and raise and lower. My dog's going mental over there with her lead. What are you doing, Cubes? And 10 pulses. And 10 slow. Sorry. Oh gosh. Julie, I'm on the, I'm going to cut you off if you don't mind. I'm doing a live video on Facebook. That's okay. I'll call you back. I'll call you back. Bye. Love you. Oops. And 10 pulses. Well, it's live. Come on. If it wasn't my boyfriend, I'd have been in right trouble. Okay, brilliant. Well done. That's hard work. So we need to stretch the inner thighs and stretch everything. So that takes us into this one nicely. Now I know some of you have got incredibly short hamstrings and you actually find sitting up straight a bit of a devil. I know this. So this is sitting up straight. If you have tight hamstrings and you're having to tip your pelvis back to relax them off, then get a block or a cushion and sit on it just to raise you up a little bit. And if it's really uncomfortable, please just bend your legs, because I don't want you to be uncomfortable because we're here for quite a while. So I take my feet wide and again I flex my feet, because pointy toes are pretty, but flex feet, I'm getting a nice stretch in the back of my leg. Now I've got an even weight in between each bum. Take your arms out, take your hands to prayer position, fingertips on your chin, thumbs on your chest. Shoulders down and back, neck lengthened, core engaged, floor lifted. Inhale. Exhale, turn to one side without lifting off your bums at all. And back. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, back. And keep that movement going. You're being drawn up to the sky and you're pivoting around the middle. So in other words, you're not leaning at all. Now my legs are relaxed a bit, so I'm actually going to take them a little bit wider now, because then I'm getting a stretch on the inner thigh after doing all those leg lifts. Now you can stay here, but if you can keep this relationship, you can take your hands wide. Now I can just see out the corner of my eye my hands. And now the whole lot turns. But if you find you're turning your face, you're overdoing it. And if you find you're opening your arms, you're overdoing it. So nothing moves, it's all about the waist. I hope you're joining me now, Julie. Now some of you have been doing this for a while. We can pulse. 2, 3, 4, 5, and back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back. Now I know loads of you by now are going, oh. So just take your legs in if you want to, I don't mind. this is a really good workout for the waist. Rest when you need to, and the best rest is just to flop forward or flop forward like this, but some of us, we want to keep going a little bit longer. You notice how the buds have come out lately? Aren't they lovely? Won't be long before we won't be able to see into the field. Notice how I'm still shoulder height. I haven't let my arms drop. They might be aching now. I know some of you, especially if you've got shoulder problems. And if you've got tight hamstrings, these are called your hip flexors here. And if you've got tight hamstrings, you're having to use your hip flexors to stay upright, and they could be killing you. Don't worry, we'll stretch them off later. Okay, let's do one more each side. And then just slump forward, shake the shoulders off. We've nearly been at 45 minutes. I didn't think we were going to be that long. Okay, we're going to do shoulder bridge because it's just brilliant. And there's lots of levels for shoulder bridge. So we're lying down on the floor. You've got your knees up to the ceiling, feet flat on the floor, and they're hip distance apart. So in other words, not out here, here. Take your shoulders down and back and arms down by your side, and your neck's lengthened. As you inhale, pelvic tilt. And as you exhale, peel one vertebrae at a time off the floor. Build up until you're in a nice ski slope position. Inhale at the top and exhale down one vertebrae at a time. It's really good mobility for your spine. And up and down. So there's loads and loads of things we can do now to make this more difficult, but if you're not doing it exactly right, carry on doing what you're doing. Hi. But anyway, if you want to make it more difficult, let's try putting your feet and knees together. So if your ankles are together, make sure your knees are clamped tight together. You could stay here with your feet hip distance apart, and while you're here you could take your arms up and over. So that's good mobility for the spine if that's what you'd like. If one arm, as some of my clients, one arm, they've had shoulder injuries in the past, so one arm's not as good as the other, doesn't matter, rest the one. You only go up to, not into pain. So some of you now have got your ankles together, knees together, and then you can do this here. And you can stay up. You don't have to come down each time. So I'm staying up. I'm really squeezing my bum, squeezing my thighs. It's really hard to keep your thighs together, I'm telling you. Come down when you need to. And actually when you've had enough and you come down nicely, if you hug one knee into your chest and then the other knee into your chest and roll around on your spine, that's what really stretches your back off. But some of you want to carry on, I know. So ankles together, knees together. This is the best position to check your pelvic floor because you've got no gravity on it, no weight in there. It's all the insides are all up here now instead of pressing down on that poor little pelvic floor. Okay, I'm coming down now. One vertebrae at a time. I'm going to hug one knee into my chest and the other knee. Roll around on your spine. Oh, and while we're here, look, we can circle the ankles. It's starting to get dark, isn't it? Okay. We're only going to do one more exercise here and then we'll stretch off, because I have this feeling you might not be able to see me in a minute. Okay, so keep one knee tight into your chest and relax the other leg down to the floor. And bring it back up and swap. Alright, we're going to do scissors. If you put your feet to the floor, as we were going to start with the shoulder bridge, so they're hip distance apart, shoulders down and back, neck lengthened. I want you to learn how to imprint the spine. Put your thumbs on your ribs, fingertips on your hips. Now, I don't want a pelvic tilt and bring my hips up to my ribs. What I want to do is take my ribs slightly down. You see, it's a tiny movement. And what that does, it switches your six-pack on to help. Because what we're going to do now is lift one leg up to tabletop. So if you bring your knee too close to your chest, that's cheating. So this isn't cheating. And again, pointy toes are pretty, but while I've got my foot flexed, I've got a nice stretch in the back of my calf. And replace that to the floor. Now inhale, take the other one. How did that feel? Did your back lift at all? If your back lifted at all, you need to make the movement smaller. And when you can do it without lifting your back, then you go back up to tabletop. And if you can do tabletop on both legs without moving your spine, I want you to then go to tabletop, imprint the spine and take the other leg to tabletop. And again, if your back moves at all off the floor, go back to single legs. But if it doesn't, one leg to tabletop, imprint the spine, second leg to tabletop. Take the arms down to the floor. Now, it's not a knee exercise this, it's a hip one. So you take your heel down to the floor and back up. Heel down to the floor and back up. So my back is staying nicely down on the floor. Nothing's hurting. And my shoulders are relaxed, everything's relaxed. All that's working is my core and my legs are moving. Now, some of you can do scissors by keeping that movement going. If you're bringing your legs all the way back here, you're cheating. So there's your scissors. Anytime you need to rest, bring them in. Otherwise, keep going. And physics, your legs are a lever. To make it more difficult, you can lengthen that lever. So you can take one leg down and back up. So you do your exercise. If you start with this and you get tired, you can go back to here. So you can see why full scissors now is when you keep it moving like a pair of scissors. But if your back starts to lift, then you're overdoing it. Rest when you need to, work when you don't. My feet are cold now as well. Eek. Okay, I'm going to do 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well done. Bring your knees into your chest. Roll around on your spine. Okay, we're going to do some stretches because I'm cold. Okay, it was a good idea. I'm going to have to wear more clothes tomorrow for sure. Okay, so I'm coming back up. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. When you come up, go onto your side and come up to sitting. All right, let's stretch off. So we need to stretch the backs of the legs. We need to stretch everywhere. So curl your toes under in a box position. Take all the weight back over to your feet and then stretching the shoulders out, straightening the legs to mild tension. If you can't get the legs straight, it doesn't really matter, but my shoulders are hip distance apart, my feet are hip distance apart. Now prance, so I'm pushing one heel to the floor and the other. Prancing. Meanwhile, if you look, I'm getting a nice stretch in my shoulders. Now, both heels high, both heels low. I want to stretch my hip flexors because we've used them a lot. So I'm going to take one leg high behind me. Now this is the tricky bit. You need to swing it through and get it on the floor. Now if you can't, you can just fidget it through. But if you can swing it through, it's even better. Okay, So now I've got one knee on the floor, hip distance apart. Bring your hands up and get your balance. Now I'm just going to relax down into it. Notice that my knee is above my ankle. If you're in this position, it's not good for your knee. You're overstretching a few things there. So fidget yourself back out. And then elegantly as you can, bring yourself upright and relax down into the middle. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to stretch in my inner thigh and my hip flexor. We hold these stretches at the end. And relax down, fidget back. Curl the toes under, back into down dog. Prancing through the feet. Both heels high, both heels low. Raise one leg behind you and swing it through. Drop the knee, build the hands onto your thigh and lower down to stretch this hip flexor. Again, notice that my knee is above my ankle, not in front of it, and relax. Beautiful sunset. Unfortunately, I can see it over there and you can't. Sorry. Okay, hands down to the floor. Back into box. Cat stretch. Box. Cat stretch. Box. Cat stretch. Box. Cat stretch. Now take your knees together and bring your feet and your head towards each other and the other side. And now take your knees hip distance apart again. You're going to take your chest down to the floor, so your nose goes down first and then roll along. And I just want to stretch my tummy. And back down. Okay. I'm freezing. If you're outside, I bet you are as well. So I want to say thank you very much for joining my first live full class, and we did manage the hour, so well done. And if you've got any special requests, I'm going to do this again. I'm also going to somehow, if somebody can help me with it, I'm going to get this so I can send it to all my clients that aren't on Facebook so they can do it at home. And if you've got a special request, let me know. And if I wasn't loud enough or if I didn't talk enough, please let me know as well. And then we can improve it next time. Thank you very much.